You don't need a mansion or a Hollywood name to leave behind a story that's more than just fame.
Me to need a will, just a family, or a cat plotting world domination. Welcome to Celebrity Estate Chaos, where we prove a lot of things. Like how estate chaos isn't just for millionaires with private islands, anyone with stuff, relatives, or that one weird collection you think nobody's fighting over. And chances are, they will.
Okay,
Anyone
let's unpack this. We often hear about the idea of, World War III, and our minds immediately jump to, well, nuclear bombs, right? Mushroom clouds, apocalyptic chaos. But what if the scenario isn't actually about nuclear fallout at all? What if it's about something equally terrifying, but maybe less understood, like a relentless barrage of missiles, drones, conventional bombs? This deep dive is really about preparing for that kind of major global conflict, the non-nuclear kind. We're focusing on practical steps for survival and resilience. We've taken a whole stack of sources, articles, guides, preparedness insights, and tried to pull out the most important nuggets for you. Our mission really is to cut through the noise, give you clear, actionable insights, and help you turn that potential panic into, smart, effective preparedness. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. What's particularly insightful from these sources is this crucial distinction. While, a missile barrage or drone attack won't create the same massive fallout as a nuke, the danger is still incredibly real. It's not just some brief, scary moment, but potentially an ongoing series of explosions. Chaos, uncertainty.
Exactly. And what becomes really evident from this research is the fundamental shift in thinking that's needed. Conventional bombs, missiles, chemically, yes, they're different from nukes, but they can still inflict devastating damage, especially to infrastructure, daily life, potentially over a longer period. So this scenario, it demands understanding the nature of a prolonged threat, rather than just bracing for one single overwhelming event. It's really about building endurance, not just surviving an initial shock.
Okay, so faced with a threat like that, the absolute first thing, according to basically all our sources, is you need to have a plan. They consistently stress that, when missiles start flying, there's just no time to think or ask, okay, what now? No, why? Why is pre-planning so, universally emphasized as the ultimate first step?
Yeah, that's a really critical point. And the sources, they actually delve into the cognitive science a bit here. In these high-stress situations, our prefrontal cortex, that's a part of our brain doing the rational thinking, decision-making, can actually sort of shut down. We tend to revert to instinct, and that often leads to panic or just freezing up.
The deer in headlights thing?
Exactly that.
Yeah.
So by pre-planning, you essentially bypass that moment. You're not deciding what to do under pressure. You're just executing a response you already decided on. It shifts you from, fear to, hopefully, calm, decisive action. And the most effective first step you can take, maybe this week, it's actually incredibly simple. Just identify your immediate exit and entrance roads. Wherever you're usually home, work. Just knowing those paths, it saves precious time. Seconds count.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah. Knowing the path beforehand, it's like having a script ready to go.
Yeah.
So let's think about a common scenario then. You're at work, maybe typing up a report, and suddenly alarms go off. The sources have very specific guidance for this, right?
Oh, absolutely. The first thing, always, is get familiar with your company's emergency response plan now. And if your workplace doesn't have one that explicitly covers, say, bomb threats or missile attacks, the sources strongly advise you push for it. Advocate for one. Beyond just the general evacuation routes, it's vital to know your designated sheltering-in-place options. And we're not talking about just, ducking under your desk.
Yeah.
Think basements, interior utility rooms, any area that's properly away from windows. These are zones meant to offer more structural protection. And you also want to keep a sort of compact emergency kit nearby.
Like what?
Well, basics. Phone charge, definitely a portable charger, some non-perishable snacks, water, maybe a small first aid kit, essential personal meds. The goal really is to be that person who stays calm, decisive, knows exactly where to go, what to grab, acting quickly, yes, but not rashly. And always remember, stairs. They're your primary escape route if the elevators are out or shouldn't be used.
Okay, so having a plan at work is crucial. Got it. But what about the home front, our personal space? How did these sources guide us to secure things there when these threats pop up?
Right. Home. So when you're at home, the immediate advice from the sources is very clear.
Yeah.
Stay indoors. Don't rush outside into the unknown. Your safest bet is usually to seek shelter in the most structurally sound part of your home.
Meaning?
Meaning maximizing layers of protection between you and the outside. Basements are often ideal because they're underground.
Mm.
If you don't have one, then choose a windowless interior room. A sturdy closet can work. Or any room that's surrounded by other rooms on all sides. Basically, the more layers, concrete, brick, even just multiple layers of drywall between you and whatever is happening outside, the better.
You mentioned maximizing layers at home, and the sources, they bring up this really interesting concept. They call it the treasure map to kind of extend that idea. Can you explain what that involves, why it's so vital?
Yes, the treasure map. It's a great analogy, actually. It's essentially a really well-thought-out, multi-path escape strategy, not just for your house, but your area. So it's not just knowing, say, one route out of your neighborhood. It's having several researched options.
Right.
Routes to get to designated safe zones, anticipating that main roads might be blocked or damaged or just jammed. You need to think about potential evacuation points, maybe official local emergency shelters, or even the homes of family or friends who live outside the likely danger zones.
Okay.
This level of foresight, it's all about being proactive,
Yeah.
making sure you're not caught without alternatives if Plan A fails.
Yeah.
And of course, alongside that map, your home-based essential supplies. Non-perishable food, water, first aid kit,
Yeah.
medications, don't forget pet supplies.
Yeah.
All that needs to be easily accessible, ready to grab if you have to move fast.
And a truly comprehensive plan has to consider everyone in the household, right? These sources really seem to highlight that critical, compassionate aspect planning for those who might need extra help.
Oh, absolutely. Very important point. For elderly or disabled family members, the sources really stress making sure mobility aids are ready. Things like walkers, wheelchairs, even hearing aids have them packed or in a ready-to-go bag right by the door. Medication's obviously critical, pack those too. And beyond just the physical items, the mental preparation is huge. Talk through the plan calmly, reassuringly beforehand. Seniors especially can experience severe stress in these situations. Having a clear, rehearsed plan can really help reduce that anxiety.
And pets.
Pets too. Get them indoors quickly if there's a warning. Try to keep them calm. Have leashes, carriers, maybe calming treats or whatever works for them ready for evacuation. Yeah, a truly resilient plan has to embrace every single member of the family, furry ones included.
Okay, shifting gears a bit. In this modern age, our phones, tablets, computers, they feel like crucial lifelines, don't they? But here's the kicker. You mentioned infrastructure damage. Missiles and drones can disrupt communication, and our sources point to a specific risk here.
They absolutely do.
Yeah.
The major concern that comes up repeatedly is the risk of EMPs, electromagnetic pulses.
Right. EMPs.
Yeah. These are these intense, very short bursts of electromagnetic energy. They can travel huge distances and basically overload, or, well, the term used is fry, unprotected electronic circuits.
Fry them. Seriously.
Seriously.
Mm-hmm.
An EMP could potentially disable everything from your smartphone to large parts of the power grid, maybe without even a direct physical explosion nearby. It could plunge an area into a kind of digital dark age.
Wow. Okay.
So protecting these devices becomes really paramount. The sources suggest, ideally, storing sensitive electronics in something called a Faraday cage.
A Faraday cage.
Yeah, it's basically an enclosure designed specifically to block electromagnetic fields. Or, if you don't have one of those handy, the sources say, at the very least, wrap them tightly. Multiple layers of aluminum foil.
Aluminum foil. Really? Does that actually work?
The sources seem pretty confident. They basically say, trust us, it works. The foil acts similarly, creating a conductive shield that diverts the pulse around your device, protecting the sensitive bits inside.
Okay. Foil it is.
And why does this matter so much? Well, for staying in touch, if possible, coordinating evacuations, getting updates if communication infrastructure is partly working or comes back online, and of course, beyond just protecting them, keep everything charged. Phones, laptops, flashlights, battery-operated radios, and have backup power sources ready. Portable chargers, power banks, absolutely essential.
That's fascinating about the tech protection. Foil, who knew? So pulling back a bit, what does all this mean for how far away you need to be before the danger eases off? Our sources give some surprisingly specific guidance here, don't they?
They do offer some guidelines, yeah, though it's always context dependent. But distance certainly matters. Preparedness, though, is crucial regardless. But here's how the sources kind of break it down generally. If you're within, say, 2 miles of an impact, your primary concern is the immediate blast wave itself. Shattering windows, structural collapse, dangerous flying debris. Immediate solid cover is absolutely essential. Sheltering in place is really your only viable option right then.
Okay. Close range is shelter hard.
Right. Then, around 10 miles away, The immediate blast risk is significantly reduced, yes, but the sources emphasize major secondary dangers. Things like widespread fire starting, maybe toxic plumes if industrial sites are hit, falling debris still, psychological shockwaves causing chaos. Evacuation becomes a more feasible option here, but it needs very careful execution. Roads can be blocked, panic,
Right.
more options, but still risky. Exactly. And then, beyond 10 miles. The direct physical threat from a single conventional strike diminishes considerably. But the primary challenges shift. Now you're looking at potential infrastructure collapse, power outages, communication blackouts, and the resulting chaos, resource scarcity, maybe civil unrest. So you still absolutely need to be cautious and prepare for self-sufficiency, but the immediate physical threat is lower. So yeah, while there's no single magic safe number, the farther away you are, generally, the more time you might have to react and execute your plan.
Okay. That provides some real clarity on distance as well. It's unsettling topic, obviously. But our sources consistently emphasize that preparing for something like a missile barrage, it's really about readiness, not panic. And approach that way, it actually feels quite empowering, doesn't it? Just having a detailed plan, it really does reduce anxiety. It stops you from feeling like you'd just be caught completely off guard. The more you prepare, the thinking goes, the less panicked you'll actually be if the worst happens.
Indeed. And what's really insightful, I think, is how the sources acknowledge the human element, how we cope with thinking about these intense scenarios. They actually suggest that finding some levity, even a bit of humor, can be a vital coping mechanism.
Humor? Really?
Yeah. It's about being able to acknowledge how serious the situation is, of course, but not letting it completely overwhelm you into despair or inaction. A resilient mindset, they argue, means maintaining that critical thinking, keeping a calm demeanor. And sometimes, a bit of gallows humor might be exactly what you need to process the unthinkable and just keep moving forward. It's about being smart, adaptable, and ultimately resilient.
Right. So we've unpacked quite a bit today. How a non-nuclear global conflict might look, and crucially, how you can proactively prepare. From, knowing your exit strategies at work to designating those safe zones at home, protecting your electronics, maybe with foil, understanding those safe distances roughly, and really embracing that mindset of readiness, maybe with a touch of humor, like you said. The sources even suggest, kind of provocatively, that if you can't find a way to laugh, even a little, about the thought of preparing for missiles and drones, you're probably going to have a much harder time getting through it mentally. So maybe the final thought for you listening is this. How can you integrate preparedness into your life in a way that feels empowering? And maybe even, dare I say it, a little bit funny sometimes, rather than just purely fear-driven. And if this deep dive has sparked your curiosity, our sources touched on lots of related topics. Things like protecting your digital life more broadly from modern threats, understanding crypto in a volatile world, securing digital assets, or even just more practical tips for surviving global conflict scenarios. Lots more
That's
to
a
explore
wrap
there.
for today's chaos. If you learned something, laughed a little, or now feel slightly more prepared for life's curveballs, we've done our job. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel and follow us on social media. Catch us on Spotify, YouTube, and anywhere podcasts make you rethink your to-do list. Thanks for tuning in. And remember, if it's important and unexpected, we probably cover it. Stay safe, stay curious, and we'll see you next time.